This might sound a bit silly, but based on like maybe values or where they want to go in their careers, skill sets, or something like that. Some matchmaking on a different plane. Does that make sense? But I'm not
Yeah.
sure how to go about it.
If I can just add to that. So funnily enough, so we came with a lot of different topics, and then we came to a topic which was voice search, which, to be honest, none of us knew a lot about to start with, which was quite interesting because when we started, we were all very confused as to what we were going to do with this topic, because we all voted on it and then we trusted the process. And we were like, no, we have to go on. And we went on with this topic, which is funny because we actually delved into something which I would have just never thought about kind of researching into, and came up with an idea that, I didn't think of this it's like 3 weeks ago. So that was an interesting aha moment for me as well, because when we were doing it, I was like, how am I going to learn about voice search in 2 days basically? And that was really interesting to see how a topic that came up suddenly turned into something which was actually tangible. We actually have something that we can test. So I see your point though, Pamela, because there's certain areas that, everybody has a personal interest in. Like when I see some other topics like remote collaboration, it's very present, it's very now, there's so much you can do with it. And maybe I would have liked to do that, but it's really hard to say in retrospect. It's easier to say than when I've been through this journey and I actually learned something new and I created something completely out of what I would have thought. So just another perspective here.
Yeah. Well, there's another side to this. I was just thinking and reflecting on what I just said. There's another side to this as well. Is why are you participating in the GVDS? Like normally when you do client work, the client already has that challenge, and you're doing that. So my point was really facilitating and not so much designing. But of course, it depends on what you want to get out of it. So for me, it didn't really matter what the topic was going to be anyway. So that's all fine. But it is an interesting process to go through with the team when you do that problem exploration, and there's so many different topics that come up. And like you said already, Robert, that some people do actually end up being a little bit disappointed, maybe not as motivated anymore, and yeah. Not that I'm saying that I've had that on my team though, but I've heard stories.
Yeah, it's difficult because sometimes on paper you can see the mix of the teams and try to strike the right balance between people who have been here before and people that are new. But sometimes the scheduling just allows for, there was one team in particular that they were all brand new, and then you have one person who could only act as an advisor. And you can sense the struggle was going to happen even before. And it occurred right during the time where I'm putting my kid to bed. And I can only be there for a certain amount of time. So that's just the nature of bringing humans together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it isn't. But most of the time, people are trying to do their best to kind of make it work. They're in there, they're with other people. They all, pretty much everyone's trying to feel like they're making other people feel welcome and heard. So there's still that dynamic. But then it falls back on me for process to make it understandable. And I know that in the dash, there was one that I said, okay, that looks good conceptually. When people did it, it was like, yeah, hey, Robert, you need to come in here. And then especially when 4 different teams got one particular step wrong, I'm like, okay, what was I doing? And what was I thinking? And so I have this long laundry list of what I have to get done on the templates, because after the event is done, the templates are going to be refined. The recordings are going to be redone in some areas. And then everyone who took part in the event are going to have those for their own purposes. So you can take the Dash or you can take the GVDS as it was in 5.0 and take what you want, put into Miro, whatever you want to do, and use it for your own ends, for your own companies, for your own processes internally. That's the whole thing. It's like, it's not just held to the event, because next event, it's going to be a different variation on it again. In fact, it may steer more towards prototyping, because the reactions I'm seeing with people actually seeing their work matter in the market rather than actually answering to somebody else is like, it turns on a light bulb. And I think I want to kind of look at that a little bit more. So, so here's another idea, Pam, and for the rest of it. Okay.
Sorry, just
no, go ahead.
Related to what you just said. I wonder if there's a way to, since you will be finishing the designs, the templates, would there be, maybe there might be interest with some people to run it again on their own times, with what you already have. And it's kind of like you're a little bit hands off. You have the videos and everything, so you don't have to worry about it. Everybody kind of already knows the process, but they can decide what their hours are going to be and how much they're going to work on it, if they're going to do it for a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or whatever. And it's just kind of might even give you a little bit of momentum for the next time that you run it as well, to kind of bring those people back onto the next GVDS.
Yeah, I'm totally open to that. Plus, it's going to be something where if you if you were to run it on your own side in whatever fashion you deem necessary, if you come back to the group or come back to it and say, here's what stuck to the wall and here's what didn't work, that's something where it's like, okay, now that's a different impression. Because if you take the dash, it's been through internally once, and then it's been into official workshop where people paid in mural. Then it's been the GVDS again. So it's getting its runs, and I'm starting to see where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. So all the better. If people want to take this and say, I want to make my own, but I don't want to call it GVDS. I want to call it like the OC experience, like for the Oma Corona experience or whatever it may be. And that is your own flavor on how that works. But I'm just going to be like this. And they're like, okay, what do you need that I don't have? Because I would like to see your approach, your methods, because for me, it's perspective. I don't have any kind of like ownership of this collective like stuff that I'm doing. It's just an output of what I have, knowing that eventually people are going to use it in some fashion anyway. So if you have a particular way of doing it that furthers the needle for you professionally or for your business, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So
will the Slack channel be the Slack workspace? Will that remain open then? I mean, so like just to throw that out then, if people want to run the design sprint again, in December or January or February or whatever before the next GVDS, that might even give you some feedback if you need to tweak anything before the next round.
Yeah, the Slack channel remains open. The virtual design sprint events group is there primarily to promote what other people are doing too. So yeah, it'll be there. Also, and Team Nom Nom, since we have so many facilitators on that team or people that wanted to do that, there's also the idea of using the LDJ process as a facilitation practice for people, so that it puts somebody that wants to do facilitator, it does it within a 90-minute time frame, but you just walk through a stepped process to explore a particular topic of interest. And at the end, you can network with one another. You have a couple of ideas for leads. You can basically start the conversation, but it has that open-ended question at the end where we go from here. And then usually if you're facilitating like Appa, I know you were interested in more practice like other people were, you can fashion it in a way that you want to. You can say, well, why don't we have an offline conversation about it and see where it goes? Or we could do something where I'm going to do my own kind of mini event where, taking from this thing, I will take part of the design sprint process and just do the Tuesday ideation phase. And let's put what we do on Instagram or some other place, like to basically showcase what our learnings are. But the whole point is that you get some sort of practice to go along with it. So we're into hour 2. I want to get a show of hands. If you want to take a break right now and be radio silence for 10 minutes so you can get up and do something until about, let's say, 25 after the hour, give a thumbs up. If you would like to just basically keep on chatting and go like this, we're all thumbs up. You got Okay, so I'm a thumbs up crew because I got to get my lunch for my son. But if anyone else would like to stay on the call, I'll just leave it open. It's broadcasting to YouTube right now. So if you'd like to just start up a conversation about some topic that you care about, feel free to do so if you're still going to be here. For everyone else on the thumbs up crew, let's go do what we need to do, and then we'll be back at 25 on the hour, and we'll just keep this rolling. Hi, Americo.
Hi, everyone.
We're leaving. Now that you're here, that's the real reason why we're going.
Before we...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to recognize Americo since he's here now. He has been the most communicative, the most, interested in all the topics, and really someone to look at as someone who's really in it and effective and interested. And I really appreciate that.
Gosh, I don't know what to say, but okay. You make me blush.
we were recognizing others on the call before that were here, and so, but you weren't here yet, so
yeah.
Well, listen, just do your best. I do my best. It's just that. the strategy sprint had to go to a secondary priority because work and some family issues came to. I had to prioritize them, but we will resume later on. Okay.
Yep.
With
I'll start calling you Atlas, Americo, for the amount of weight that you kind of like carry up the mountain. I'll just basically call you Atlas.
Okay.
All right, everyone, 25 after the hour. If you want to stay on, please do so and have a conversation without me being present. It's totally fine. For everyone else who wants to take a 10-minute break and come back to the call, you can. But I know a few people are going to linger on, so please mingle, conversate, and I'll be back after getting my son some lunch.
We can talk about you while you're away.
Please do, and do a lot of that, especially in the text.
We need someone else on the head on GVDS6.
Yeah, that's true.
Replace Robert.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back.
Bye.
In
Omar?
Yes.
I have an itching question that I must ask.
Yes, go ahead.
How's it been for you with having Corona as your surname?
Well, it used to be cool.
This
Yeah, it used to be cool. People would be like, "No way, your name's not Corona." Your name, yeah, no, it is. And I'd even get some beers bought. Now I'm like getting beers thrown at me instead. So I stay inside.
But does it mean anything, the word Corona, other than the fact that it's a virus?
Yeah, it's a crown.
Oh, okay.
It's a crown. But it's yeah, it's my surname. It's a pretty famous-ish name. In most, I don't know, not famous-ish, but like
It's a common name.
fairly. Not, yeah, I mean, kind of, not really. It's not like that, you know, people are named Corona, last name Corona. So yeah.
where
In the
are you
beginning,
based? Sorry, Brie.
go ahead.
No, where are you based, Omar?
I live in Lake Chapala in Mexico. It's the second largest lake in Latin America, after Lake Titicaca down in Peru and Bolivia. And yeah, here I'm like 40 minutes away from Guadalajara, which is the second largest city in Mexico. They basically push, like, it's the quintessential kind of export of Mexico with the sombreros and the mariachi and the food and the culture and the tequila and all that. And there's a pretty big tech boom here. It's been kind of growing steadily out here, which is why my girlfriend and I moved here after a long trip that we did down to Argentina and Chile for like almost 2 years in our van. So we didn't really know where to go, what to do, and we loved Mexico, so we just decided to move here. And I'm half Mexican, half American. My mom lives here at the lake. Decided to be a little bit closer to her because I've been kind of trotting the globe for a good while, and everybody's like, when are you going to settle down? So, yeah, but it's beautiful out here. I mean, the weather is amazing year round. The only thing is the average age here is probably like 75, because a lot of Americans and Canadians retire here. So it's a great pandemic place. It's a great yeah, I guess wisdom, but at 75, 80 years old, they're not really giving you their wisdom anymore. They're just like, screw it. Like everything's going to hell anyway. Fucking TikTok and shit.
At the beginning of all of this, I was at the beach at my parents' house, and I built a sandcastle that was a big roll of toilet paper with a crown on it. And it's like Corona 2020. Anyway, little aside.
Where are you, Appa?
So I'm based at the moment, I'm in Prague because my husband is Czech. And during the COVID crisis, I came here, but I work in Berlin, in Germany. So kind of at the moment, everyone is kind of remote, so it doesn't matter, but I'm employed in Germany with Ernst & Young. So I work as a workshop facilitator and designer at the moment. But yeah, I'm looking also because I want to move to the Czech Republic in the long run, looking for areas also where I could freelance and, do something that I love for myself, basically. Because in the Czech Republic, this is not a very, let's say, there's very few companies that actually do sprints, or it's very hard to sell them, as I think a lot of other countries have this issue as well. It's a mindset thing, and it hasn't caught on yet. So this is something that I enjoy doing, and I'm hoping that, I can change how people see it and view it here.
That's amazing. I'm constantly looking at Ernst & Young too, because they're like the big, I work at a top management consulting firm as well. And they are, I mean, obviously EY has the pockets to do whatever, and we're kind of a small consulting firm of like 120.
Yeah.
But we're just, we're trying to, I'm new fairly to the company. So I think they're trying to bring in some fresh blood and get with the program a little bit. But big, corporate clients and stuff that also are looking for help in figuring out the culture and everything. So you guys are doing an amazing job.
Yeah, but I think it's both it's a pro and a con, because I think it's the pockets also mean that they have to prioritize certain things, and they can let you just, sprint and fail because they have a reputation to withhold. So these are things that also you have, I think it's pros and cons for both. Smaller companies are willing to take risks that bigger companies are sometimes just not. But I don't know what else if any of you have other experiences with larger consultancies, or it would be nice to hear.
I think it's in the nature of all large companies, really large companies. Yeah, it's not just consultants.
Yeah.
EY hires a lot of our graduates, so they kind of bop in and out at our school. Well, I work at a business school, and so yeah, we see them a lot and we talk to them a lot. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to like get in and glean any of their facilitation knowledge or anything like that. Not like it's rubbed off on the business school operations either, which is funny because we teach all of that, but operationally we don't really practice it.
Yeah, I think most of the consulting though doesn't really leverage this kind of thinking. It depends on, like, right now I work in an innovation hub, so that's why I have the ability to do this. But even that was a fight. Like, I started with IT consulting and found my way into this because of passion. It's a journey, I think, for everybody.
And I'm coming at it from like graphic design, being marketing communications. And so there's kind of, I feel like there's this like, I don't know, preconceptions of what I can and can't do and how I think. And, even just because my hair is blue and I deal with pretty colors all day doesn't mean that I'm not a designer, and that design doesn't map into other areas. Like, you can design all kinds of things, not just a brochure or a website. It's interesting.
But I know Fides is doing some cool courses she's on my Dash team, and she's like constantly, she's very passionate about learning. So I'd like to know how you're doing, Fides. How was your day at uni today?
I think I have to give a bit of background. So yes. I'm based in Switzerland, close to Zurich. So that's the German-speaking part of Switzerland. And as Appa said, I have like the time of my life learning whatever I can, wherever I'm just picking up bits and pieces and frameworks and strategies and whatever. And part of that is that I started CAS, so a Certificate in Advanced Studies. I don't know if that is a common abbreviation or just here, in designing methods. And it's a lot of fun. We've been prototyping the last 2 days, and we've been doing it hands-on, and I'm more used to the software part of prototyping. So dealing with Figma, doing design sprints, and then prototyping it in Figma or some such, and we've been like sewing and hammering and gluing for 2 days now, and it was so much fun, and it was such a good learning experience as well. So I'm so happy I took that. It's really expensive, and because I'm self-employed, I'm paying it all out of my own pocket. I think everybody else at that class, they have like UI, they have like a company paying it for them, but it's well worth the money. It's a great experience, but I'm so tired by now. The week's been so hard.
It's nice to get out of the software space and do something tactile, isn't it, Fides?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, especially with design sprints, I've had that question coming up again and again, or you can see it in every forum. Is a design sprint also usable for a non-software product? And people keep saying, yeah, you can, yeah, I think it's possible. And our tutor today has been doing lots and lots of prototyping, and the experience he has, and really the hands-on experience, like building a shopping experience and just walking through that, and the kind of feedback you can get, that was something totally unexpected for me and totally new. So it's been an exciting 2 days, and we have a third day tomorrow. So it's fun. It's really, really fun. Yeah.
Sounds really cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's yeah.
I think that learning is very important. I design training courses mainly for students, university, and so it's very, design can be also, like, apart from being graphic design, it can be many things, as Brie was saying. I've been working a lot with the School of Graphic Designers, and I was kind of telling that to Sachin today, because they were mean to me, because they will look at my slideshows and say, oh, they're badly made. But it was very, I learned a lot. And I really enjoy planning trainings and understanding what can be the best way to teach somebody something. And for me, I, as a background, I'm an organizational psychologist, so I come from a different background, and this experience was very, very nice, and I had the chance to learn from others. And I also value these kind of moments of networking with other teams, because, I mean, with my team, we built a special bond, but it's also interesting to see what the others are doing, and so it's stimulating.
I saw this. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Pamela.
No, I was going to respond to what I hear that Brie has been saying. Like, it's not just graphic designs. One of the things that I've always felt, but then over the last 1 or 2 years, if you look at our world right now, basically everything is designed, because it's come up, somebody came up with it. So some human, that's exactly what it is. Everything is designed to fit some sort of purpose in the end. So it's not just graphics but everything. Policies are designed.
Right.
Everything around us. So yeah, we can redesign.
Pandemics is designed.
Sorry?
Pandemics is designed.
Maybe that's a different conversation, but yeah.
There's a world, or there's a book that I just recently read, and the author's name, for some reason, Mike Montero. He posits that the world is how we've designed it. So, I mean, it is how we've designed it to be. And man, that's a really good book. It's really pointed, though, and he talks a lot about design ethics. And
well, that's so what we do. Manu is still, he's still somewhere in the background. So we are trying to figure out how we can apply, well, design thinking for sure, but design sprints focused around sustainability challenges, which is basically total systems redesign, if you look at it. So you can go on so many levels, from the topic of gender equality to something more tangible as food waste and how we deal with other things. But we have these really interesting philosophical conversations as well with a lot of people, that if you're going to redesign the system, you have to look at how the economy, it's also man-made, it's also designed. Everything is just invented at some point, but that also means, on a positive note, that we have also the power to redesign it, so, and to come up with something better. Yeah. Anyway,
and this is also
cheers.
And Pamela, this is actually front of mind of a lot of companies, because now where I work, like most of the challenges that come across from big companies are sustainable development committees who have no idea how to set up their strategy and what they should be focusing on in terms of what should they track. Even if they have a strategy, how do they track this? How do they track their success on these fronts? And how do they make sure that it's not just a marketing thing anymore? Because the whole idea is that their stakeholders are now more important, because if they're seen as greenwashing, then it doesn't help the company at all. So they actually have to, care to care, if I may say so. Like, they now have to care more, because they have to also care about their reputation and how that looks for them, more than also having to, align to the UNDP goals and things like that. So it's interesting.
Sorry. In that Mike Montero book, he talks about holding designers accountable. So when people design something, holding them accountable. There was a case, I don't know, in the last few years where a designer was actually, I think he was put in jail because he was irresponsible in, his choices while he was designing. I can't remember what it was specifically, but like, personally, I think that's a great idea. It would put more weight into, what we're doing.
But so one of the things that I'm sure you've heard of this is designed obsolescence. So that product development now, that like they want you to replace your phone in a few years, because then you have to buy a new product. So that's the way it's designed, to be able to wear out quickly, or you can't replace separate parts, for instance, in a mobile phone. And there's this company in the Netherlands, it's called Fairphone. Their phone isn't the best yet, so that's conceptually it's brilliant. Which it's like Google Phone tried at some point, where you can take it apart and you can replace certain elements when they wear down. So it's built to last and not to be thrown away pretty quickly. So yeah, but that's a design choice that's made, but it's often also in the brief that the designer gets. So to what point can you hold the designer accountable, or is it higher up the level?
What if we designed bridges that way?
Yeah. I bet my Nokia phone from 2001 would still work.
Probably. And you can play Snake on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Snake. Yeah, but at least in Italy, it's still, when you talk about designing things, it's just architectural design or graphical design. It depends, but mainly when you talk, when I try to explain what I do, I work as a freelance, and I work in a small city, which has a lot of funding for innovative projects, but it's also like old style, and it's so difficult to explain. So it was so comforting when I was inside these networking events and also the GVDS or other types of events. It's so nice to talk to people who actually understand what I do. And it's like reassuring that it actually exists in other cities. That's why I was also thinking about moving. Before Corona, I was thinking about moving to like abroad or somewhere else. But then, yeah. Corona.
But Elisa, my dad, like before I used to work in M&A in transactions, and ever since I moved to innovation, my dad hasn't changed what he tells his friends what I do, because he can't understand it. So he just tells people, yeah, she works on deals. And I'm like, I don't work on deals anymore. You need to stop telling people this. And it's just that he doesn't understand, and he doesn't want to understand. So he's like, screw it. I'm just going to say what she used to do before.
The same. So sometimes they say, I am a manager. Sometimes they say, I don't know. Yeah.
One way I found to
psychology.
Sorry, I'm really passionate about this, because I've been trying to explain it to business school professors for at least the last 2 years. But one way I found this really interesting is Buchanan's 4 orders of design. So he's got like the first order, second order, third order, and fourth order. Like fourth order is designing systems and processes and like infrastructure. Third order is designing it's in between that and products. It's like companies or like other nodes. If you think about like, and then second order is like websites, which are also kind of, you've got information design, and then first order is like designing products and stuff like that. And so I found that it kind of helps to map design to show people, like give them a visual, like a concrete thing to talk about. So just something.
That's a very good thought, Brie. That's a good way to explain that. Absolutely.
If you just Google Buchanan's 4 orders of design, it's really helpful.
I'll try it out and let you know if it worked.
It works.
So a couple of new people that came on after I went downstairs and kind of took care of things here. We got a 15-minute break. So Fides, where are you calling from, and what time is it there?
I had a quick introduction. I introduced myself quickly, but I'm from Zurich, in case anybody else has come in. So from Switzerland, German-speaking part. And right now it's 7:30 at evening. It's dark outside and it rains. It's naughty weather.
Yeah, but it's getting there here. Our weather in Dallas is strange because we have like weird hurricane things that are going on every so often during this time, like in the summer and the fall. So the forecast can be completely sunny in the 80s, and then all of a sudden it's nothing but winds on the forecast, and then it dips down 20 degrees, and then it goes back up to 80. So it's this weird kind of coastal dynamic that keeps happening around where we live.
Now it's pretty steady. It's the rain's coming in. It's gonna stay for a week. Weather doesn't change that quick here, like that.
So the first part of the hour, we were talking about things related to what happens after this event is done. How do we keep in touch with one another? What are some possibilities with extending out the smaller groups around skills, maybe signing up a LinkedIn group? I shared a link, and I'll share another again, where it's the Showcase Awards, or sorry, the Spotlight Awards. And basically those are peer-based, where everyone can basically nominate someone else on their team or someone they know for something they did with design, facilitation, and X Factor, and so on. And I'll put that link up in the chat again, but I'll be taking those all the way until Thursday of next week. The screenshots that people have been putting into the Slack are also going to go up for a vote from the people to see like which one was the craziest, the funniest, and so on. So we'll put in like some fun little categories. And then, yeah, so we're just exploring different topics related to the event, what people thought of it as first time participants, which is something I'd like to ask you, Fides, because I know this is your first one.
Yes.
And there were times, and I have to admit something. There were times where I felt like I came in and go, oh, I'll help, and then Fides goes, it's okay, I've got everything, everything's fine. And I just had to kind of go, okay. So I had to publicly apologize for that, just because I was so used to that mode of kind of helping out if people's teams were stuck. But you're kind of like, yes, I know, I'm doing what I can, it's fine. And but I want to get your impression of what you thought about the event before you went into it, and what's your impression of it after have gone through 3 weeks of things.
What was my impression before I went into it? I know I've been in contact with you loosely before that. I didn't have too much of an impression, really. I knew just there's a global sprint happening, and I'm into design sprints, and it's just like it was on my list to do. I didn't expect it to be such an amazingly useful experience. The things we've learned, the connections we've made, the things we will draw out of it are amazing. And though it's been a hard week, though not as much as for you, I'm so happy I did it, and I can't wait for the next one. And I will miss my team. I will miss Christina and Appa and Martin for the sprint. It's been an amazing experience, Robert. And it's been very good to know that you will always be here to have our backs in case we don't know how to go on. So especially with the sprint that I was in with Martin, you were always every morning, mornings for you, evenings for me, you were there and you were supporting us, and that was amazing because we knew we can just do it and try it and play with it. And there's no harm done if we fail. If we don't do it correctly, we can give feedback. You're so good in taking feedback and implementing it. And it's been such an amazing lesson in co-creation, to really see what we can do in co-creation and what we can achieve. And like we said this afternoon with Christina and Appa, I think we will take our product further. There might be coming something big out of it, right, Christina, Appa? I think we don't want to stop. It was an amazing motivation.
So I will add to that.
We try to go backwards and say, no, let's do only a part of it. And the enthusiasm and the passion puts us to move forward with it. Absolutely. And to ask ourselves, it is very good to share the information, to let these founders know about mega trends. Yeah. So let's make them find out the best information. So
I think we will not be able to stop. We will just go on and take it further and further.
We are pushed by an invisible force.
That all depends on our prototype. We need to get signups, not just us. Like we sign up for our own product.
So here was a suggestion that was given by another participant in private, and I think it's an interesting one. There's always been this question of how to continue on the conversation with teams that have really struck a chord, that work really well, or want to continue on with their idea. So one of the things that came up in this networking event was to hold a pre-next event kind of session where everyone that was part of GVDS5 would be like maybe 1 or 2 hours. And then if an entire team shows up for one, you can form a breakout room, bring everybody into that room, and they can basically like network with one another. And then when they exhaust that conversation, they come back into the fold. But doing one for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and basically having each particular season, so to speak, kind of come together, and networking is one aspect. But carrying forward an idea is usually it depends on each of the people on the team and how it's done. The things that have not worked was where someone can try to continue doing iterative design sprints over a course of time. There's just too many outside things pulling people in different ways. But one thing that has worked is an asynchronous mode where you have one day in the month, like usually the first of the month, where you not only, the first part of it is what you've been doing, kind of catching up with one another, kind of discussing where things are, and especially with prototyping, and then setting an agenda for yourself for the month to do whenever you can. And then using things like Slack or WhatsApp to just kind of keep tabs on things, and then give yourself dates to kind of go do certain things. So if you're going to do another prototype experiment run, and you have different things you're going to do, you just agree upon certain dates that everyone can kind of do that, but they do it on their own time. And that continues that very low signal conversation about the work, and continues on with it, so that you can continue to organically iterate it. It's been floated for DS as well. The only challenge with that is that DS has a certain formula that's usually specific to the process. So doing iterative things with DS, people fall back on the DS process, but it's different. So it's a clear amount to do with prototyping. So to review, for teams that want to carry forward with their idea and they're doing prototyping, you basically have something where the first week of the month, you find a 90-minute time frame that all of you can meet in person. Do a check-in, do a kind of an overview of what's been done and what's happened, and then take the bottom part of the hour or bottom part of the session to plan out the rest of the month in terms of like 1 or 2 to-dos, not too much, but the experiments that you want to be able to run. And then you just let those sit for long periods of time, see who signs up, see who does something else. The trigger will be when you get that 40% response and you have something that's market tangible, then it starts a whole different conversation about time and resources and what you want to put into it, and if you're really intrinsically motivated to make it happen. So that has happened with 2 groups so far from GVDS4, and they've gone to do it to a certain extent where they felt satisfied with the end result. But that's the progression on the prototype side. I may try it again with DS, but that, just to give you some insight, that's what other teams seem to have done and have worked. So it's not where everyone just goes in WhatsApp, hey, when do you guys want to meet? And then you kind of try to figure out it like piecemeal. So if you have a structured plan like that every month, it usually sticks.
Good suggestion.
So, yeah. Let's see here. So I'm trying to think of what we've done so far. So Sorry. I had 3 different things running in my head all of a sudden, and I think it's just an artifact from the week. So if I falter at any point, it's just because I'm trying to think of too many things. I think what I'd like to talk about next as a group, since we're about 12 or 16 people here, we've talked about networking with one another, showcasing what each of us have kind of contributed to the entire event. What I think I'd like to open up a conversation with is GVDS6, because the idea is that we would do some storytelling around what that experience would be like. And I'd like to know from all of you, and I'll take the opportunity to consume a little bit of lunch while you do so, what you would like to see. Like, tell the story of what GVDS6 is going to be like. And Manu, bye, wherever you went. I think you went off camera for a bit, but have a good weekend. I'd like to hear from you. If you were to tell a story of what the GVDS6 experience is like, what would that be like? And I think I'm going to call on somebody that's been contemplative and not saying much as Martin.
Mr. Martin, please.
Sorry, I'm just replying to a private message here. Just somebody asked me something, so I'll come back to that.
Okay, then I'll switch gears and go to Bree. Bree, what does GVDS6 look like for you? Tell a story about what that experience is like.
Wow. Okay. Well,
if you need time to think, it's a hot potato, then call upon somebody else on the call, then basically pass the hot potato to someone else.
Well, I can give part of it. Maybe we could do a like exquisite corpse kind of situation where I start the story and then someone else picks it up and goes, you know.
We could try that.
So at the beginning, I really appreciated the team. I would like to know, you posted on social media why you picked the team the way it was. You know, kind of half new, our team is specifically half new, half experienced. But I think a little bit more of a, you know, getting to know each other exercises or something. We just jumped in and started doing stuff, you know? And so we weren't necessarily, we were a little, I guess, awkward at the beginning. And so maybe it's just GVDS6 is getting a little bit more comfortable with each other at the beginning. And I don't know what that really looks like necessarily, but being new, I mean, I jumped in and started working on stuff and getting to know people over time. But I don't know, I just didn't know what my I don't know. I don't know. That's hard to. Okay, so I'm gonna give it off to somebody else. How about Yasir? Did I say that right?
I think we need another design sprint to decide on how to pronounce my name, because Florian has been trying it for the last 1 week and he hasn't.
Yeah, sir, right?
So the way I explain it, try to say no, sir, and then they try to say the opposite of it. So when you say no, sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
So yeah. So for me, I mean, I think so. GVDS6 would be basically trying to get people who are interested in similar work together, because I think so. There was someone recommended that having a problem framing before deciding the teams, which I feel is a good idea, because then you know you are really working towards a topic that you have personally selected. Of course, I mean, we are here to learn, and you know, maybe some are there for the facilitation part. But then, you know, it really enhances your engagement if you are really in a topic that, you know, you have personally chosen. Now, of course, I mean, logistically, that might be a nightmare for Robert to put it like that, but I think so that would be one way. One thing would be also to concentrate on one thing in 1 week. So something that I posted was that I felt a bit lost with having to do the dash and the DS in the same week. And basically, I think I did not do either of them well, because you know, just lack of time. And then I was stupid enough to select 8 to 12 p.m. my time as the 2 sessions. So, I was like low on battery. So I think so that's, to just select the topic well, concentrate on one thing. And because I felt in GVDS4, the kick of, really achieving something at the end of it. And that was really very encouraging. We even went for an iteration because we thought that it was a good outcome that we got. With this one, I think so we were like, had a, half-cooked solution in both of them. So I think so for me, GVDS6 would be focused. You select what you want to do. The team, the topics are selected, then you basically select what you want to do, and then the teams are created around it, and you concentrate on one thing.
Can I add to that? What if it was just us like giving a list of topics that we'd be maybe interested in, just throwing out a few general areas. Like we were really excited to find the majority of our team had special needs kiddos, and so we started really talking about some of those things we had in common eventually, and that really informed our solution. And so like, what if we gave a bunch, like 5 or 10 topic areas that we're interested, so it might help us like bring some of the teams together around topics as well.
I think that's something that Robert, sorry, go ahead, Robert.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say? Go for it.
No, I think you tried something similar in GVDS4 where, you had put the topics and then you were asking people to show their interest. And then I think so you took that into consideration when creating the teams. But then, of course, eventually we still decided on the topic after the teams were created. But I think, to be able to select that I want to go in, irrespective of the team, I want to go to that topic would be, I think so.
Yes,
more
exactly.
engaging for people.
In GVDS4, the fact that we had that huge mural with the challenges, and we received before starting the sprints, the challenges, and we in pandemics, of course, but it felt like being a superhero, trying to tackle some of the world's problems. And we have some problems, climate change, pandemics, aging of the population, and this can be tackled beforehand, so that we can get that superhero feeling. Because in GVDS4, when I saw the mural with all the teams and all the people and the challenges, I got the superhero feeling, and I still have it. Of course, I would like to see it in GVDS6 and, of course, the other GVDSs.
Because it was a full write-up, and it was just not just a topic that was mentioned on the mural. It was like someone had to create a document saying that why they want to select the topic, what according to them would be an ideal solution, and so there was some work behind it before someone would propose.
It was impressive.
So as Christina said, that it
yes. Sorry for interrupting, but I remembered how it was, and we got the challenges and then the designed brief, the sprint brief, and it was amazing because for remote education there were 6 teams that were prototyping in the same time, because everyone considered that remote education is something stringent and urgent, and it felt like that superhero extraordinary outcome, Captain Planet like, and I'm sure this spirit is still on. And myself, I would like to have it in this community and to preserve it for future editions as well.
And before you go on to another topic, Robert, just one thing. I think the last GVDS, when the channels were open, we felt like 12 teams all working together, it was like a full conference happening. This time it felt like more individual teams working together, because, to be honest, in GVDS4, the first thing I have to do in the morning is go and just check the other channels, what are some people needed subject matter experts to interview. I could say, okay, do I have anyone in my network? And, maybe there was a topic of interest that some other team was working on. I would just follow them and see that, this time it felt like more isolated. We were in silos, and, my team in the design sprint and the dash, and that's all I cared about because I didn't really have an idea what other were doing.
Yeah, that's Lee Duncan's fault.
Another element that I really enjoyed for GVDS4 was that these challenges were submitted by very special individuals, and I looked into their LinkedIn profiles. I was very curious about them, why they picked that challenge, why they submitted for solving in a community of design sprinters, and it felt very empowering for me to contribute. I remember I wrote to you and said, Robert, I want to do 6 challenges. And you said, no, Christina, you will not have the time for 6 challenges. Please pick 2. Because each of them is amazing. And of course, we have, as humans, we have a pretty of, nowadays we have global problems. And this community can really help give a hand to solve these problems. And I'm not idealistic when I speak like this.
Oh, I understand. And I'll give you some, so for people that are new to GVDS5 and didn't see GVDS4, what I'm showing on the screen is basically something I curated on Mural that involved last time where it was bonkers. It was at least 150, 160 people doing this. And we first bracketed everybody out by type. So if they were in a certain bucket, we just kind of displayed them here for networking purposes. You know, there's always a token Florian picture everywhere you go. So you can't escape it. And but you'll recognize other people that were part of this. And some people just couldn't take part this time around because it was October and they were busy or they had other things going on, which is fine. But what Christina and others were talking about were this. So I had a formal process where people would submit a challenge. There would be a sprint brief that went along with it. And this is something that the participants could participate or to submit themselves and say okay, Andy's is right here where it's about loneliness in the workspace. And then there would be a place to ask questions in terms of what people are interested in. Then right here would be go ahead and put your name if you're interested in exploring this as a potential challenge so that when we brought together teams, we could do that. And black for the name if you absolutely needed to do this for your sprint. So this is something that you came to GVDS4 for and that you would hold against me forever if I didn't schedule it for that particular one. I'm kidding though. And that manifested, we had about 42 different challenges that were submitted. Some guys squeaked in at the last minute that were really passionate about what we were talking about. There's Nora's with her female-focused sexual wellness innovation that was pushed. The one that was an amazing one that so many teams had adopted was remote and blended education. So that manifested down here into teams, and you'll see some of the names that we borrowed from before, where we bracketed out people early by their roles, the advisor, the facilitator, designer, so far, and researcher. And we had the proposed schedule that they had kind of aligned with on the calendar. Now, the only reason why I didn't do this time was because 2 reasons. One is that my schedule didn't allow for it. And 2, I had to figure out with what I was doing, what needed to fall to the wayside in terms of being able to execute better. My biggest failing of GVDS4 was not providing proper education for people and perspective before they came into the event. So I took pains to basically make sure that the templates as well as the videos that went to accompany those were as explanatory as possible so that if I wasn't there, then for the most part, 80% of it could be understood or knowing where to go. So that's where I made the emphasis and the shift. But I've heard it from enough people that they missed this, that it's now brought up the question of, okay, have I hit my limit as an individual doing this? And what do I need to start asking some alumni that have been through this before? Do you want to take on the challenge of this and the process of kind of organizing this? And let me show you how I did it and letting people do their own spin. And that would have to be some preparation way in advance for some of these things. But I've heard it from enough that 4 had a lot of value that people saw in this that wasn't in 5 that they're going to want in 6. So I'm glad it was brought up. But yeah, so for people that are brand new to this was the old process. You had 2 weeks to basically submit something that you felt other people could sign up for. Participants can basically put their name in there. And I would manually go into the spreadsheet and figure out when schedules would align with some of the people here and when it makes sense to do so. So I put hours and hours of time to basically make sure that these teams were together. Also the fundamental change from last time is that I didn't try to pack 12 people into a team like before. I narrowed it down. I made the cutoff line 6, and then made that so that teams were much more intimate. They could contact one another, and it didn't feel like the facilitator was trying to gather kids onto a school bus and get them to a destination. So I hear you, Christina, about the challenge thing. That's probably going to come back in 6, but that's where I'm going to kind of go, okay, if somebody I can explain how the process is, and if someone can do that as a dimension of it and make it their own and put that and say, I did this as part of this, then I think it could definitely work. Okay. All right. So I'll stop sharing because, okay. What else would people like to, and thank you for that, Christina. I'm glad you spoke up. What else would people like to see with GVDS6 for next time? What would be something that would be like, okay, I'm going, and I've been thinking about it. It has to happen. I'm going to go there. Florian, what were you going to say?
I don't know if that makes sense, but I was thinking about I knew I was at GVDS4, right? And I just jumped in there, was totally confused. And then the sprint week started, and I said, oh, I had to actually prepare stuff. So I know the system, but I haven't done it again. It's like the kickoff, get the team interesting, and you should read something. But then actually when I don't know how it was with you, but actually you just start when the week starts, the sprint week, then you're ready. But the thing is, what we experience now in the dash or also in our sprint is that you had actually to prepare a lot more, right? Problem framing, getting to know the team. So what I think makes a lot more sense to really start the sprint week, but start really with these things like make a proper kickoff. The next day, maybe it's a problem framing. So really plan a week so you have the feeling you start, but you're not starting the sprint. You actually start with the preparation. Right, because that is a feeling you say, yeah, I have to, and I love all your videos, but the question, there was so much content, and like even if you plan it in, it's like life comes in it, right? And then no, I have to do that, and okay, yeah, actually it starts on Monday, right? So that is, and I think that maybe helps that you kind of give a structure, make a week before, this is this, and then you maybe have some more time with problem framing, and then it maybe also helps because then you get better issues or better problem statements, right? Because you don't have to make it in a hurry. You get to know each other, maybe just to understand, okay, what you're interested in, what you okay. Then you maybe find the problems everybody wants to tackle in the team. So that was something I think could make sense just from my perspective.
So the strategy for 5 was to make 2 full weeks where people could basically do what they were interested in doing with problem framing. I see you, Brie. I'll call on you next. And here's what happened is when I had a 2-hour session for kickoff and 2-hour session for problem framing, I thought that was schedule friendly. It didn't have to kind of tax people too much. But what I found out is that once people started to have the conversation that second week, they realized the depth and breadth of the topic they were into, and they were like, wait a minute. And now all of a sudden that Monday's coming up and there's a bit of panic that sets in. Whereas my original intent is like, I'm not going to ask too much of your time. So that begs the question then from your perspective, Florian, I know that I'm going to expand the time out a little bit, the official week, like the week it's the busiest. But does it make sense to, on that Monday, the official kind of problem framing conversation that happens, and that the idea is that you are temporarily reserving the same time frame during the week, so that you start off with the topic, you have different options on how you can explore it. You can take your time to figure out who your subject matter experts are and to kind of get a bit in depth, so that week is dedicated to full immersion, to context and understanding. And that there's a cross sharing between teams on what's happening, so that people want to contribute to each other. That the pre-week to the sprint is just as important as the sprint week itself. So that there's that emphasis, so that people feel more confident, they know what they're into when they get into the sprint week, and that there's a more recognition of what you're actually shooting for. And it's not done during sprint week where you're questioning, oh, we went in a different direction than we actually had in the very beginning. I mean, does that?
I would agree. And take this first week really for problem framing and for getting to know the team, right? I don't know how it's like this. It's like okay, and then but you really get to know the team in the first days, like starting from Monday, Tuesday, and you kind of see the team dynamics and, you know, getting a lot of fun. And if you have this 1 week before, as I don't know, it's in my dash team, my sprint team, we want to go on at least a week too, because we figured it's fun, right? I'm gonna somehow make the time. And I think if you kind of frame that before, and even the 2 weeks, I think are people possible, because they have to do it anyway, right? But once it's written, the other time is you have to kind of figure it out. I think to put not the pressure, but to make this is the starting point. I don't know. I'm a person who really kind of pushes everything back. So if I have to do it on my own, it's like, yeah. So I think it makes sense if you have a proper starting point. Everybody understands the depth on it, the work on it. It could make more sense, and you get more out of it in the real sprint then, because everybody's prepared. Everybody understands. Oh, I have to get, you know, interviews done. So something. I don't know.
I think so. The one thing that also I felt missing was. When comparing to GVDS4 was the roles responsibilities part. It was more open. Maybe you were trying to give more freedom to people, Robert, but then I felt that, you know, people did not really own up the role. So, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I'm guilty of that. I mean, Florian and Sandy in my teams had to sort of like impromptu come and facilitate because no one was ready to do it. So I think so more, if we start a week earlier, then we have a discussion about role responsibilities. Do we want to you know, rotate? Do you want someone to take it throughout? So, you know, that's kind of discussion we missed.
Was the configurator something that helped, or was it just something, one of those things where you had to just work through the process? Did it help that conversation about roles, or did the role conversation, was that more a human conversation than it was actually putting it onto a mural?
Yeah, I think the human conversation was missing. I mean, people saw that and just ignored it.
I think so as well. Like we weren't very, I know there was a video on the roles. I don't know how many of us watched it, but then we would like in the session and not knowing kind of what each role meant. Cause like, especially there was this role called advisor, and it was like not really clear what they were advising on. So it was like, there was a facilitator.
Basically, who doesn't want to do anything and just talk.
Yeah. So I think as well, like this role definition was unclear. And I completely agree with Florian that we need to have a prep week to actually know what's coming, because half of the time we were like copy pasting the mural on the day of the day we are starting the sprint into our room, looking at it. So it was a bit, I would say, from an organizational perspective, I think I've lived in Germany for way too long. But yeah, I do. I did miss that a little bit. The structure.
But I think it's less the part of you organizing everything, Robert, right?
Yeah.
Like you put all these videos. The question is how many people really watch these videos. I mean, so I think it's more about us being, you know, getting in there, right? How is it, skin in the game point, right? That's why I think it's important just to get it started properly, and then you even it's not, and let's do it 2 weeks, and the second week is a real sprint, but then, you know, I have this time saved, and we have every day a meeting, so I have it in my schedule. And if it's, you know, the first 2 days just making funny games to get the team to know, I think that is so important, and maybe just helps for the real experience later on in this. So that's why I think it's not more that you have to organize more, right? It's just to keep us, put the pressure on us and continue. You have to be there. I think that is.
I think I totally agree with Florian, because I felt that, you know, you were, Robert, trying to help a lot, but you sort of, you know, were spoon feeding us, and we were like, relax. Okay, let's wait for Robert's next video before we take any action, because, you know, it's going to be ready on Monday, and then it's going to be, everything is going to be fine. Rather than we saying, oh God, we have this on Monday. Let's discuss how this dash thing is going to work. What are we supposed to do? We were all relying on you. So that's, I think so it was just unfair on you to be.
And I have one comment before I leave, which is also regarding the topics, because you mentioned that, you know, the first day we had to come up with a topic that the whole team wanted to work on. We had some topics before, but, you know, we didn't really think of it. This week might also help kind of iron those things out, because you might have some time to talk about your personal interests, and through that actually find something that as a team, you are kind of standing behind, as this is what I want to work on. I think that would also solve that problem, apart from the fact that I know, Christina, you love your superhero, and hopefully we can combine the two together.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Appa. And this is my first GVDS, And yeah, it's been an amazing experience working with FIDES and getting support from Robert. And America has just left. He was brilliant on our team also. And I thought the same. I thought, you know, like we went through these classic phases of the way groups work together, of, you know, like kind of forming, and, you know, like, and it took a few days to kind of get into this kind of groove where we were kind of bouncing off one another. And then by that time, kind of, we were maybe a little bit behind, and, you know, we weren't sure, you know, what direction. We leaned then more on Robert than we might, you know, normally need to do. And so I definitely think, you know, like, you know, my 2 cents would be maybe to give the team some kind of micro challenge the week before that they have to kind of work on, you know, like maybe not the kind of big, you know, topic, but something that forces them to kind of, you know, work on something to kind of gel together a little bit more quickly, and do the things that Appa mentioned about getting to know one another. And, you know, I think a bit of thought put into that would be well worthwhile.
You know, I felt, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I felt going into this kind of this feeling of like starts and stops. And like, I left the sessions feeling so energized. And so like, I want to keep going with this team, but, you know, obviously everybody has a life, right? But in the, like, the first week it was just so far away from everything else too, that it kind of like, you really get into it, and then you have to wait another week to see these people, and then, you know, you get really into it again, and then another week goes by. And so it was like, I totally agree with like the mini challenges or something the week before, where you're kind of like you're crescendoing into this really intense week. And when I thought the whole month, my impression coming into the month is that I would be a lot more a lot busier, I guess, than I ended up in the first few weeks. And so I don't know, it just felt a little bit like the rhythm wasn't quite there yet, perhaps.
So if you wanted a full boat experience, let's say what we did here was Universal Studio, well, not yours. Let's say it was like Kings Island. If you wanted to have like a kind of amusement park analogy to what was the GVDS5. GVDS4 was like closer maybe to like Universal Studios because of the wide variety of different things we were doing there. So I just wrote on a Post-it note something where we take, so for people that sign up for the GVDS or that are thinking about it, they can submit a challenge or submit an idea. So that's going to populate that board that we're talking about. Then the week during the kickoff week, before we just kind of had a networking event, and then we had like team canvases and things like that. There's a possibility of taking the ones that the topics that have a lot of interest initially and running some LDJs with those. So the things that have a lot of interest, you do an LDJ so that people can give their perspective on it. It's nothing that sticks, but you can tell by the people who go there who may be gravitating towards that particular topic and potentially could be like the team that forms in a couple of weeks for the event. Then the following week is the dedicated prep session where you kind of go in and you kind of like get really into the topic. And then the next week is the actual sprint or dash that you're talking about. So it's a progression of how things are. Bye, Appa. See you later. Thanks for coming.
Bye, Appa.
Bye.
Bye, Appa.
Nice to meet you.
Nice seeing you.
Bye-bye.
But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to do with the other stuff I have is to write a story about what GVDS6 is like and pass that along internally on like the mailing list, saying, here's the beginning vision of it. And then take the feedback I get from that and say, like, what would you change out of this? What would you need to add? And continually modify it. And then when I get close to a beta, then I know what I need to prepare and how that would work. But it would basically be taking the notes that I'm putting on these sticky notes and writing them into a narrative so that, okay, here's the vision of what it looks like in the next time, like when it's going to be. Like if it's in June, there's many events that happen all throughout from February into that point that feed up into that one event, that larger event in June that supplement it. Yeah. And then people can position themselves, they can make conversations about it. I can do my consulting on the side and do prototyping and all sorts of stuff, and then just come together for that particular event. So, okay. Any other thoughts around like what to do for it? And so Bree, you had your hand up before. Did we ever call on you about that?
pretty much wrapped it into the comment I just made, and that like we did have a little bit of a hard time with the problem framing, and that we ended up with something obviously that was not exactly where we originally wanted to go, which is totally cool in the way that happens. But we did end up kind of going a little farther on the problem solving and squishing all the rest of the parts of the sprint toward the end of the week, I guess. And so that was part of it, but I can't remember the tie-in I was going to make. Anyway.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
So anyone else would like to comment on GVDS6 before we close out that topic? Christina.
Something, because I gave it a thought. So basically in GVDS4, the advisors were those who submitted the challenges. And the confusion regarding problem framing and the topics can be solved by putting the advisors to submit the challenges, so you have the advisors empowered to tackle on the challenges and the design brief. And then there is plenty of time for the team to get together, to meet, to ideate. But the problem framing is done mostly in the prep sessions before sprinting begins. Because what's cool about this challenge is that people submit to them because they want to solve the problem. We know the problem. Yeah. We know the aging population. We know climate change. We know pandemics. We know the need for remote education. So we don't need to frame the problem. We already know the problem. The fact is we need to get together to know our skills, our competencies, and to find solutions. And what I liked more about the GVDS5 was the speed, because we can speed up. It's like a hackathon. It doesn't have to be for 1 month. It can be for 2 weeks. It can be for 1 week. As long as we have the challenges that are inspiring. And it's very important for the facilitator in each group to be like a project manager for the whole group. I worked with Mehmed Karakus, and he was awesome. Facilitating for us during GVDS4 for the remote education challenge. He was a perfect project manager for us. So he organized us, he gave us tasks during the month. So we were very organized and motivated because of this. So it's important to have facilitators that act like project managers during the month of GVDS.
Or you're talking about somebody on the team, advisors basically holding the structure and saying, okay, this is what we kind of have to keep in mind as we kind of move through things. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So I think with this people can play a lot and also learn at the same time. For people like me who wants to learn over here, you have given me open-handed as well as I learned it at the same time, and people are there to pull me if I'm going out of this space. So that will also help us a lot. And if we have a stretched time, probably that will help us to know each other as a team, as well as it will help us to give us the better output instead of just come out with the output. So as a team, these are the two things. Stretching the time will help us to be together, and controlled group and be as a top king who is taking a team, not go in the other direction, be in that direction, will give us a kind of direction. But at the same time, people like me who wants to learn can try ourselves and can experiment and then do the kind of a process which is kind of a directional process for us.
Here's a thought. So we had this notion that for people that wanted to continue on with their challenge after the event was done, they could have a structure that could happen monthly where they just meet up. It's like a meetup. You just check in with one another, see what you're doing, and kind of have that as like a to-do for the month.
Yeah.
What if you reverse that and had it as a precursor to the GVDS, where you start forming teams early on around a topic, and then they get to know one another, they explore the topic, then this notion of doing compressed problem framing is actually extended over time. So you're actually an enthusiast about, say, facilitation, or that you're really into social justice or something, so that everyone kind of congregates around the topic. You just find a way to explore it and explore the solutioning, or sorry, you explore the problem. But it starts the conversation early, and you get like minds kind of coming together around either skill sets or topic or anything else. So there's still an opportunity to do an event as a group to explore that meaningfully. And you're all in the same space because you're interested in something in particular. Through those interactions and through that consistent but very low commitment kind of thing, but there's still a structure for it. When the GVDS happens in June, you have a body of conversation and work that spans months that leads up to what you're going to do officially. So you're going to reserve your time to make it happen. And then that would be something that you could carry forward. So that it's like an ongoing conversation with it. See you later, Bree. Thank you very much for coming. Glad you were here. What do you all think of that?
That's not, I would like to mention regarding June, it's important to put the GVDS during spring. It's just a thought, because market trends, and companies are publishing yearly reports. All the trends are set up at the beginning of the year. So we have January and February. March is a good month because it panics people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can take action. You can do something.
Bye, Martin.
You know?
Bye, Martin. See you later.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Nice seeing you.
You too.
Keep going, Christina.
Even if March is full and we all have client projects as well, and we have to tackle these, it's challenging, but let's not forget we are here to learn, to accelerate our thinking, and to do this under pressure, under a way amount of stress maybe, but to do it anyway. So from my side, I would suggest that keeping this in March to be a good perspective. In June, people are more concerned about summer holiday and how to go to the beach and to have fun. It's not, summer months are not months for taking action and acting like citizens. And this GVDS is also about the social activism, because we are focused on solving world problems, basically.
It's academy for us. You can say that.
What a excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm getting all choked up over all this insight. I can't keep it together. So there's the question of frequency, and when to hold it. So I posed the question of when certain months should be considered. But what if this was something that occurred on a monthly basis from February to November, but it was just one of those months is where it comes together for something that's a bit bigger than the usual ones. So those, and I'll frame it properly. So we're not doing GVDS Lite every single time. This orients with a particular topic, maybe. So you just concentrate on one particular topic for this particular month. It emphasizes skill sets and emphasizes professional growth and mentoring, so that it's more about that dimension of it. And that it's a lighter version of it, but it's continual learning. So it's a way of kind of applied learning. Then in March, say if March is the big one, and then June's the other big one, the months can just continue. It's just a regular kind of thing that happens. Then when the big ones happen, that's when you're kind of putting dedicated time and resources to a particular topic that you, and for a particular team that you want to do. So it's the GVDS experience as we're kind of outlining in the story, but it's like monthly. So there's like small incremental, learn how to do facilitation, understand data analytics, in kind of exploring it through process, through like either prototyping or something else. But it gives people an outlet to do that and brings people into this notion that learn by doing is the theme that kind of connects all those different months together. Oh, did you cut out, Christina? Or
as long as the big one, the event, is at the beginning of the year, you know? The big one has to be at the beginning of the year.
Like February or March.
Yes,
And that's the bottom line, because Christina said so.
no, because it's
Stone cold
it's the
moment.
momentum.
Yeah.
And please think of it like this. We have Corona this year, but what happens next? It might get worse than that. So the problems are still there. People will be interested to contribute. And this is like a think tank. But what are you doing, Robert? You are organizing mini think tanks. So you are basically taking some, you managed to do this, you know, with this community, but we are a cluster of think tanks in here, if you think of it like that.
Yeah, it's still, I'm still batting it around, but it's what, so here's the balance I have to strike. So that I have the home that needs the demands of something that's going to be something that just isn't an expensive habit. So that basically just put a lot of time into it. But I'm not of the opinion that I should charge every time I do something like this. I think it would be interesting if I did some sort of Patreon or something where it's like the outside the regular events, this is just what I would do. So if you find benefit of it, you can contribute. Otherwise, you don't have to. But then that could basically provide the justification at home for me actually doing these organizational events and continuing to do them. But we'll see. I'm hearing an echo. Who is that? By the way, Mohammed, you joined us. Where are you coming in from, and what time is it there?
Thank you. So it's 9:30 p.m. And I am based in Lebanon. I work as product manager for a startup I have, and I have a second job in a factory that produces kitchen office furniture. I really enjoy the conversation already you have, and I really enjoy the design sprint and the GVDS. Aloha team. Yeah, so an awesome event. I learned a lot actually. You were talking about the preparation and the whole month thing in GVDS. I will share some insight if I can.
Please.
Yeah, so as a first timer in GVDS, I really needed those 2 weeks to digest all those information you provide, because I didn't know anything about the process. I found it very useful, the video you put on a weekly basis. So it allowed me to leverage my knowledge about the GVDS and how to prepare myself in the actual design sprint week a lot, and give me more confidence to participate in that week. So if I was like participating in or have like more engaged, or there is more workshops in the first 2 weeks, I think it will be overwhelming as a first timer. So this is my thought about that. Yeah, an awesome event. I really enjoyed it, and still looking forward.
Okay. I'm going to go into some of the comments about what Omar and Fides are putting in chat. Maybe it's something where way in advance, there's an idea that the month, say if we're talking to 2021, we're thinking about February, the first month, or in March, or just maybe let's talk February. Maybe what would be the prelude to that, where if Fides was someone that wanted to go, I want to take the stage and basically showcase what I can do, and this is the intrinsic motivation for me, but I also want to do it with other people in the GVDS. How would that form? Like, how would that come together? I'm thinking of logistics now, because that's how I tend to kind of fall back. It's like the idea is interesting, but what are the logistics? What would it need to how would it need to come together that would make sense for everybody? So maybe I can pose a question to you, Fides. If you had your own event in February that you wanted to showcase what you were all about, and you brought on other people either from your GVDS team or otherwise, what would that look like for you that would be meaningful, and what would you want to do?
You're on mute.
You mean my own event within the GVDS?
Correct.
Like breakout events?
Yep.
I'm not sure we need breakout events. I think it's just more of logistic of helping you organize it, and maybe being like the advisors I've now heard about in GVDS4. So just like having more of a structure in a team that you, Robert, can rely on, and that we know what you're working on and can take part in that and can take over tasks. As for doing my own event, I don't know.
Would it be like an online meetup that you see what some groups do, where they have monthly meetups, but they're online, virtual? People present on what they know, they take questions. Is that the kind of thing that
would be good? I think what I've been missing, especially with the Dash, is there was not too much learning about prototyping, like the learning phase. I suppose a lot of people, I don't know how many knew how to sprint, but nobody knows yet how to Dash. And
That's
like having education sessions beforehand that people can tune into or not, that you don't have to do. And I would love doing them. I love doing things like that. Just to make it possible for you to go on with that event.
Yeah, I see, if I may, I see kind of 2, 3 kind of areas here that could connect really well, where you know, one is the core team, which for one, there's like there might be a really good incentive to have a core team that helps you out and is like, you know, a GVDSer, you know, part of a core team that kind of establishes a bit of a brand and like of a membership of sort. And I'm not talking about payment or anything. I'm just talking about skin in the game, being part of the team that communicate kind of year round. That's one, and that'll help you for GVDS6. The second one is kind of what I've been mentioning that I think Yasser was kind of talking about as well, is if you are able to do like a once every 2 months, for example, mini GVDS, where somebody, I think this is what you were mentioning, Robert, somebody like Fides or anybody who might be interested in being the facilitator, but you also have somebody in the background who's like the organizer, who kind of plays your role. And you can start with just one at the beginning. And if you see that there's, 12, 15 people interested, then you can have 2 tracks going on, or you can have like one GVDS and one Dash, or however you might do that. But you just scale it small, first running. The other one is what Yasser mentioned about the LDJ. Maybe what you could do is run an LDJ to see what are all the components that you need for it, so that you can then put together who's going to organize, what is the role of the advisor on these like small sprints, these smaller sprints that you would do once every 2 months. I think once a month would probably be maybe too much for now, but once every month, every 2 months, or once every 3 months. And that could build some momentum for GVDS6, and you have a team behind you in case you do, because if you are going to get all this exposure, you might get hit with 100 people, 120 people or something. So you at least have a team to back you up.
Yeah, I mean, one of the visions I would love to have is if there was this team that came together in a particular month that had a topic that wanted to organize and host, but run, and then they're put on notice. Like they're basically the team is the one that basically gets the attention, that the people kind of showcase what they can do. And then the conversations happen past that event that are beneficial for the people that are taking part of it. That would be ideal, because then it suits the purpose. It suits the notion that people are going to getting more aware of who Fides is, who Christina is, who Sachin is, who Yasser is, and knowing what they're all about beyond they're on LinkedIn, their LinkedIn profile and so on. Yeah. I don't need the accolades, or I don't need the notoriety. I'm more like, if the brand can be a vehicle for for furthering practice of facilitation or practice of organization, that's where my interest is. So I'm all about a core team. But the thing I hesitate on is because I've been part of organizations like the Usability Professionals Association, the User Experience Professionals Association. I was part of committees like on boards and so on. And there can be a lot of discussion, but no action. And I'm a very action-oriented person. I'm very execution-driven. So I'm good for getting like this, getting collective intelligence and getting perspective and respecting it, and then figuring out how to give it equal weight when it comes to formulating something, and then putting it out for people to judge and say, like, what do you think? And then everyone have an opinion, but then putting my bank on something that makes sense and saying, do you want this? Is this something that really motivates you? Like if I put this in front of Omar and say, this is what I'm thinking about for February, you would be working with these 2 or 3 people. And this is why I think it would be cool to do. It would be a matter of how, Omar, how comfortable you are with kind of doing a certain amount, given all your other dependencies and other things you have to do, but acting and operating in a fashion that really makes sense for you and making that team come together. And at some point, me going hands off and going, okay, make it happen, and just show people what you're all about. I think that's where I'm trying to figure out where that balance is, and like, how much do I have to kind of prep for the team, and when it makes sense for me to go, okay, here are the keys to the car, go for it, go to San Francisco, have a blast, take lots of pictures, and if you get arrested, I don't know you. No, I mean, but something like that, something where I can kind of get that together for people. And if I can get that in a formula, then I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
You could just give us the keys to the Corolla for now, and then later on we can get you can give us the keys to the Ferrari 2 years from now or something, you know?
Knowing me, I would either get you a Scooby-Doo party van, or I would get you a Tesla, but the Tesla doesn't have enough room for all the supplies that you're going to need for the things, but that's what I would go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's another thought. I'll put it in there.
And I'd actually be very interested to run this again before February or before March, or whenever you decide. I would like to run it again, because I think I'm very happy with my team, and I was very happy with the subject matters. I felt a little bit not derailed, but I just felt at first a little bit like, oh, I think we're getting lost with this topic, or I'm not sure if we're going to produce something that's going to be of value. But I think that also had to do because my team, there was a lot of seniority in there, and they wanted to get through the process, which was great. I think that was better perhaps than being, too stuck on something else, because it allowed you to move forward, because at the end of the day, it's not so much about the product that you're going to be putting out now, especially in a first time round.
So here's an idea, and I'm marrying 2 concepts that we talked about today. We talked about keeping tabs with one another as a team and moving a project forward if people want to work together. What if we married that with this idea that I'm empowering people to run their own events or run their own kind of small group stuff that the GVDS brand would promote on social, set up things for them, and then they organize and run it through, but it's their show. They can basically showcase what they want. And that's the conversation that happens at the beginning of the month. It's open to all GVDSers. They basically, okay, this is 2 parts. One is that if your team is coming together to continue the conversation forward, then I can produce a breakout room for that to happen in that event, like in that particular get together. For everyone else that isn't there for that purpose or would want to be, there could be the initial conversation about, oh, you're leaving, Pamela? Okay, bye. See you. Thanks very much for coming by. Again, you were on the call. Have a good weekend. But maybe not breakout rooms, but something that basically says, okay, we're getting all together, and then let's discuss if there's any bandwidth or interest in kind of exploring something that you're currently about. And then that way, through this conversation like we're having right now in Zoom, we go, here are some things that I'm working on. I can basically go like, I'm prototyping central. Like I'm going to be doing that a lot. But then there could be something else where it's like, is anyone else interested in kind of doing this? Or I had a conversation with this, and seeing how things organically evolve. If there's an opportunity to do something in the event, it's taken offline. And then I act as like a resource to say, okay, Sachin and Abhinav are getting together to do something where UX and Agile. And that's something where they want to kind of do like either a webinar or a presentation, but something where they're working together on something, but they're still a part of this community. So I go, okay, I know all the places I would put it on, make it an event, do this. It's 45 minutes of my time in a day. It doesn't take long at all. And then use that to basically go, okay, and here's what they're doing. And have that as a reoccurring first week monthly thing. So just check in. How's everybody doing? Everything good?
Yeah.
Teams that have to go do their stuff, go that way for a little while. And then for the rest of us, let's talk about some things that would be interesting to do this week or sorry, for the month. And what would you like to do? And just see where that conversation goes. And then it's very schedule friendly. You don't have to go if you don't think you have the time. If you can't make the meeting, you can catch up on the recording. And then the idea is that by the end of that first week, if you are interested in something, you should put your hat in the ring for something you're doing. And then we just set up a Slack channel or something on WhatsApp to carry the conversation, and people can self-assemble. And then it's less about me going, here's a template with a recording and go ahead and watch this. And this is how it's going to go, you know?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
How does that?
Yeah, that's a baby step. We can take it, and that's how we can grow it.
Yeah, because we have all the resources.
Yeah.
You've made all the resources already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can set the agenda ahead of time in that meeting. So it's like, okay, here's it's open-ended, but there's some things that are on the agenda. Give it big 20-minute blocks, and then just do it appropriately so people don't have to be there for the full time. They can just pop in when they know that the subject is changing. So if it's like prototyping is going to happen at the end of the first hour, people can go, I'm going to go have my lunch and then just stop in for that. So they don't have to do all the other stuff. And then it can be like a 2-hour kind of frame. And then each half hour is devoted to a particular topic that people are coming for. Okay. I'm writing that down so I don't forget. Top of month stuff.
I have to drop off, guys. Very nice talking to you guys.
Sure.
Very cool. Thank you, Robert, for everything.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
You're welcome. See you later, Omar. Have a good weekend, okay?
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Ciao.
Okay. So I've been talking a lot. We only have 20 minutes left. You've stuck it out this far. So this is more or less your floor. I will. So for people that are new, let me do this before I forget. I'm going to put in the link to the type form for the Spotlight Awards, so that if you want to nominate somebody on your team that you felt did an amazing job, that's the vehicle for doing it. And then what we tend to do is at the end of the session, or at least the end of the event, we do something for everyone where I'll be putting this up online, but we do something called the Spotlight Awards, and that is here. So these are all, that second link is a link to everyone that was part of previous events and what they contributed to. And all of those are quotes from people, not me. They're just things that people left for other people. So you can see, well, Iva was one of the best of the best. So was Ken. Laura was, the reason why she couldn't come this time around is because she had other commitments in October and she was slammed. But Mehmet was also the MVP last time around, and he took a much more scaled back kind of role just because he had other things also on his plate too. But that's what would come up with 5, depending on what comes in for accolades from other people. So that's what you can expect coming up in about 2 weeks' time. But again, enough of me. I'd like to hear from all of you if there's anything else you want to bring up that you want to use the last bit of our time on.
Yeah, I want the $1 million question now. The answer is $1 million. What happened to all the vacations you promised?
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a DHL package that's supposed to be coming my way. No, hey, look, I'm taking a page from Donald Trump and saying, look, that the vacations are going to be spectacular, the most amazing things you've ever seen. That they're going to be huge. That people will be talking about them for ages. It's historic. They'll definitely be coming your way. We're just waiting a little while longer in DHL to do the deliveries. It's a lot of vacations, Elon Musk has been telling me for a long time he's got everything prepared. We have all of our travel agents ready. They're ready to make it happen. So everything is. They even have vaccines, so everything's going to be just fine. You won't have any issues whatsoever.
Where are you planning to go, Yasser? Where is your
short plan?
No, I had already given the list to Madrid,
yes,
to Istanbul, Austin, Texas, then Niagara Falls.
Yes, and
but
for
now
every
since
network,
I mean times are hard, I could end up only 2. You know, so you can. I'll give you a discount on that.
No, it's okay. I got all four reserved. I was able to squeak in the one in Austin, even though it's going to be pretty busy at that time of year. And for reference, Yassir's vacation schedule kept on building every time he did introductions for the network event. So he said, "I'll do Madrid first. Why don't we add something else? Let's go to Austin. I want to do this." So he figured, and then one person just said, "I just want to go to Mars, and I want to be able to go there and come back." So I was like, "All right, well, I'll pull some strings, see what I can do."
Cool.
Great.
Is there anybody on the call I haven't taken vacation plans for? I think everyone did kind of give their 2 bits.
Mine is
right?
the cheapest one.
It's inside India, correct?
I'm going.
Think big, Sachin.
Yeah,
think
I'm
big.
going to, no. I want to go to your place, man. So that's the best place to be in India for me. No man's land kind of thing.
But you also wanted to get on an exclusive beach, if I recall, correct? Like you wanted to get access to that?
Yeah, that's a. Yeah. That's a. Yasi told me that's their ancestor place.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like sort of my hometown, so.
Kind of hometown. So Yasi now takes us to that beach now. Don't worry, Robert. Now.
That's exactly the promise I made, as you made, Robert, to everyone else.
Okay.
As honest as you.
Yeah. No. It's not about honesty. It's about intent. And basically, like we have solid intent, very, very meaningful intent.
Yeah.
And if circumstances don't allow us to basically like completely fulfill those wishes, at least we're humble enough to say, like, I apologize. It just didn't happen. We tried forever. The DHL guy saw all the tickets and just he's missing. He basically, he had a fake passport and now they don't know where to locate them. They're going to try to see if he's
and you always have the corona
locations.
excuse anyway, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mohammed, what was your vacation spot you said you wanted to go to?
Well, Germany. It's
okay.
Germany.
Yeah.
Why not Switzerland? Muhammad, why?
It's always in the back of my mind. I don't know.
Really?
Well, like you can do what Yassir is doing and basically, do a tour. So you basically go to a couple places and not just one. You should be okay.
Well,
There is that versatility. There is that versatility in the package. I'm not holding people to just one city. You can do it and go to multiple places if you'd like.
Oh, nice.
We have a saying in Arabic, I mean, Muhammad will understand. It says, "Illi bibalash kattir minnu." That means if whatever is for free, just make it more of it. So,
yeah.
like since it was free, I said just Madrid and everything. So just keep adding, man, if it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I think so. It was great. I need to drop off in a couple of minutes. Really enjoyed it, Robert. I think so. The feedback was very honest. And I think so. It was just to make the event more greater and better than it already is. I think so. I'm looking forward to GVDS6 now.
Yeah, and the theme I got in general is that it just needs to kind of breathe a bit rather than being condensed. The whole thing needs to breathe slightly, and then just experiment with different things that we can do.
Yeah, I was wondering about the dash. So, are we we're gonna see each team what the type of experiment they choose for their topic and how it went, why they choose that, and I mean maybe all teams choosing only the fake doors, from what I saw. I don't know.
So part of that, so there is a plan at the end of it to say like, okay, let me know what happened with your team and what the outcome was, and then using that as a vehicle to communicate back to the other teams what had occurred, but also making it a story. So you go like, this is the first, because Alberto Savoia has kind of got his eye on what's happening here, because I told him that I was going to experiment with prototyping. So he doesn't like anything that doesn't do his original recipe. He's very much about do it this way. This is the way I would like it. There's no deviation from it. This is the way it's I have proof that it works. All fine and well. I tend to be a little bit more experimental. So I had to show him like, okay, here's what worked here, what didn't work. Here's the reactions. But to give that summary of what the teams have kind of experienced and what they were all about. Yeah, I'll ask for that, but at a later point.
Yeah. But Robert, I think Leslie is a bit more open as well, isn't he? Because I've been talking to Leslie a bit.
Leslie's very communicative. He's been very open about how he's used it in his company and how the ideas that like a big pharma company evolved turned into like tens of billions of dollars in revenue, but they needed time to evolve and they needed the right people behind them. So there's components to a successful prototype beyond just the prototype itself. It needs certain people to lead it. It needs a constant nurturing. It needs a little bit of the team to kind of carry it forward and continue to experiment to see where it goes. Bye, Yasir. Thank you very much for joining. It was good seeing you. Have a good weekend, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yeah, it really is about the execution over time and having somebody to kind of be the champion of whatever you're going to do. So the key of the prototyping is that it's fun to go through the process and learn about it a bit. But what you really want is you want to pick something that intrinsically motivates you, that deep down, something that through thick and thin, you could take it and go, I really like this. Like this is something I wouldn't say passionate, but something that I tend to follow and I really, really want to pursue it. That's the proper bet for the prototype, because the prototype then can be fractal. No, 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 yes. And then no, 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 yes. And you just keep on going. You have that evidence to suggest where things go. But at the foundation of it is your own motivation to kind of go, where is this heading? Like this is what I like to do. So that's where it seems to work the best.
Yeah, well, actually, I was talking with a friend from a couple of days, like thinking how we can merge the design sprint with the prototype, and like embed some exercise within the design sprint itself. So, because after reading the Write It book, I mean, I felt like the design sprint missing something. So I don't know.
So here's a really easy way to do it. And this is something that Leslie told me that some agencies do. Do a design sprint up until Tuesday solution sketch. So that's the cutoff point. Do it right then and there. Get sign off from your stakeholders on the concepts so that they're aware of the work to date and what it's all about. And to make sure that it's aligned with the outcomes that the people want. Once you do that, do a prototype. And you skip storyboarding, you skipped all of that. The prototype exists as the lo-fi design composite, and then you use analytics, you use like proof to basically see where it goes. But smarter companies won't just do one experiment, they'll actually do 20, and they'll change the variables on certain things for locality, for audience, for intent. They play with the pricing scheme. They do it all in real time, and they use third-party tools to do it. Like one was called Smoke, and another one's, I think there's Salesforce that uses it too. But once you get into the system, then the metrics drive the decision-making on the leadership side. And it's no longer trying to convince someone through opinion that something is halfway decent. Now it's, what do people actually react to? That's the results. And the things that show much stronger results can be interpreted, but usually from what Leslie said, that's where it really hits home, because then you'll have exhausted that experiment to the point where like, okay, well, now what do? We have this one that was our winner. How do we do 10 variations of that and continue to see where there's more success? How do we add or modify to it? And that's the game when it comes to prototyping.
Well, very nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, those are good thoughts. Yeah.
But that's how it's actually been done by other companies. Some people try prototyping to inform a design sprint. It doesn't work as well because the design sprint tends to change the nature of it, of what's interpreted. So, but it does provide the proper rationale for it. So you can, but if people are already design sprint centric and already have that embedded in their culture, that's where prototype can kind of slot in and say, you don't have to schedule anybody's time. You just need to get the analytics team, the sales team. You get anybody that's paying attention to digital commerce and figure out how you can put your slice of the pie in there so that it's still working against like real live traffic, but doesn't harm anything else in the pipeline, and you're off to the races. Mm-hmm. And growth design does something like this, but it's not explicit like prototyping is. They just call it something different.
So when I was in e-commerce company, we do generally this kind of approach. We designed it. They just take this kind of code and just put it on the A/B testing part. Then they will do the A/B testing and they come back that these are, and they will change the A/B testing with A, B, C, D or whatever with different testing module. If that is not work, let's do the other work. Let's do the other things. That's how we'll test it again. And whatever is the best part, they will take it to the production part. So within a week, they will come out with the results. Yeah, sorry.
And I was gonna say, you know how like in Agile, there's usually the starting points, the stand-ups at the beginning. So one of those stand-ups on Monday is actually devoted to prototyping. So they look at the results after a week after doing the experiments, and that colors the rest of the week in terms of where they're going to put their time. And it also influences, if they're doing Agile at the same time, what they're going to be spending time on in terms of metrics, topics, and it throws traditional Agile, especially safe Agile, into a loop because everything's pre-planned. But if you're reacting to market forces and that tends to align better with the executive, you still have that frame to work with. And then the maintenance level Agile stuff that's happening still continues unabated. It's still like stuff that needs to be done that's core to the business. But this upper layer is where you're quicker to react to what's going on in the market.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything else? We got 5 minutes. Are we completely out of things to talk about? Because we've been 3 hours. I could probably babble on, but I would bore the hell out of everyone on this call. And it's if dropping off is any indication, that means I've already I've already accomplished my goal. No, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. I'm being self-effacing. But I would like to close with this. I do this every time for the professionals that sign up for this. That should be crystal clear. I don't do it for my name or my brand or anything like that. That is just a byproduct of what happens with this. So the promise I have to everyone that gets involved with this is that as long as I'm staying within a proper professional standpoint, I will continue to advocate for people that get involved with this event in a way that makes sense for that person. So if you're talking about Christina, if she has certain things professionally she's trying to get done, if I can find a way to help with that, whether it's promoting something that she's doing, or it's basically if she's involved with this event in terms of prototyping or continuing on with something, if I can help do something with that support, then that's where I want to be. With Fides, I got a firsthand approach of what she's like. So I understand what you're a bit about and the confidence you bring to things. And I want to explore that and see where you go with it. But I also want to be your advocate when it comes time to go, hey, I'm going to venture off on this, or I'm going to put this on. And then I go like, hey, if you've never met Fides before and know what she's about, check this out. And I'm not expecting anything in return. That's just part of the whole social contract that's there. Sachin, Mohammed. Yeah. With Sachin, it's more of me listening around where he likes to take things, because my impression with him and Abhinav is that they have a dynamic already in the workplace that they work with together, and they're in disciplines I'm familiar with but no longer really active in. So I'm more activated when they go, hey, Robert, we would like to talk to you about X or something of that nature. So when they have an agenda to do something, that's where I get involved with the conversation. But
today me and Abhinav discussed the things. Then let's discuss sometime. Yeah, today after. Yeah.
And Mohammed, he's already on call. So whenever he wants to get a hold of me, he already knows just basically that. No, it's so. For people that I haven't had any kind of real conversation for in terms of like time spent, it's just a matter of it makes sense to do so and just say, okay, I like to have a consult, or like, I just want to have a conversation for about 30, 45 minutes about something. Like you talked about marrying the design sprint with the prototype concept and when is probably to do so. So that could be an article that I do and send it to you and say, does this make sense? Because if the question has something where you want to have a conversation with someone else and be able to get the third person perspective on what that's like, but want to carry forward into like a conversation with someone, then I'm more than happy to kind of write it up, because my whole writing process is strange. Like I know now I have to write emotionally and put everything on there, including all the things that would offend a lot of people. Then I take 24 hours and I look back on it again and I go, oh, I missed that. I definitely better not say that. Nope, this is not what I should say. This will be a bad impression. And I take another wipe at it. Wait another 24 hours, do it again, really start to crystallize everything. It's just like painting. It's like doing any kind of artwork, just layer, layer, layer. And then by the 5th layer, it's pretty solid. And then I just have to put it out in the wild and see what people think. And that's usually how I go about writing. So my articles are usually weekly. So if there's value in saying design sprint, prototyping, and putting them together like Legos and what that looks like, I'm more than happy to do it because I think I'm eventually going there anyway. So, but I guess what I'm saying to you, Mohammed, is if you want to reach out ahead and talk about a topic, then please do so. That's the whole thing about furthering this entire notion.
Thank
so,
you very much.
And that's it. We got one more week coming up, and that's going to be a fun week where there's not going to be as much intense work. It's going to be more about whose screenshot for the team was better than the other one, and kind of encouraging people to let other people know that they appreciated their work and their contributions. And also to prepare for the GVDS showcase, which is in 2 weeks. That's where the team
okay, Christine. So we know what we have to do. We have a 2 weeks deadline to get our stuff going.
But there's a template that Graham Small and some other people have done. So it's not going to be something where you're going to wait till like midnight of the same day going, I got it done. Here you go. It's like it's already set. And it's just putting in, there will have to be one for prototyping, but the one for the design sprint is already there. It says, what's the long-term goal, the sprint questions. Sachin knows it because he's seen it maybe. But it goes through and then the top is the prototype, then the reaction from the users. And then it has everyone's impression about what the experience is like. And you can see previous GVDS showcases on the Dallas Design Sprints YouTube channel. It has all of them recorded in the past. So you can see what those are like and what other people have done. And it's the same format. Same people just go through all of their work. And sometimes it's a subsection of the team. It's not everyone, but it's still something where the work is now kind of codified and people are aware of it. Okay. We're done. Top of the hour. Hey, 3 hours. We did it. Thank you all for coming.
I really appreciate your effort towards the GDS and dedication. Whenever we pinged you within an instant you come and you just solve the things. So I just appreciate that your dedication to GDVS.
Absolutely,
You're welcome.
Robert.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I always felt it was like the teacher telling me, you know what, we have to talk about your work. Or like there's something about your templates that just didn't work. So I mean, called to the top of the class going.
That's a part of life. But yes, we can see the dedication. That's why we are here till 3 hours with you.
Yeah. I'm totally cool with that. So I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, after participating in GVDS, like if I want to imagine myself or my life without that, I mean, it's worth it. So yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful event. It brings a lot of learning and connection and everything else. For myself, before GVDS, it is not the same as the after GVDS. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And that's a good reminder. Do make sure that you add your teammates in LinkedIn. Ask for a recommendation if you feel comfortable doing so, because that's the commerce that matters on that network. Really do take advantage of the goodwill and the camaraderie you've established with the team at this point, so it's not forgotten going into the holidays. And that should be a good way of keeping that in your back pocket. Plus, I'm planning on doing some sort of digital certification to say there's a participation badge or something you can put on LinkedIn to say you've been part of GVDS5. It's been missing in the previous events, but I'm gonna gin that up and do that probably the latter part of November.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I demanded to do Fun Friday games until 2:20, sorry.
Fun games? You mean from school?
Fun Friday. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go for it. The fest is coming. What was that?
That would be amazing with the badges. And if you need help, just shout out. Give a shout.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I won't take up much of your time. Thank you very much for coming. Good to see you all. Have a great weekend. Okay.
Thank you,
Adios.
Robert. Thank
See
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Oh yeah, sleep. I'm gonna do that. That's right. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
We're gonna end this meeting by